Listen, before we go any further, I need you to take a breath and be brutally honest with yourself. Because if you're watching this, there's a part of you that already feels something is off. Something she's been hiding behind soft smiles, innocent explanations, and perfectly timed tears. And I want you to stay with me until the end of this video, because what I'm about to reveal is something most men never learn until it's too late. And trust me, what's coming at the end might save you from years of emotional damage. So before we start, make sure you like this video and subscribe, because you deserve the truth no one else is giving you. Now, let me speak to you woman to man without filters. When a woman cheats, the act itself is only half the story. The real chaos begins after she cheats, because that's when she enters a psychological survival mode, a manipulation mode, designed not to protect the relationship, but to protect herself. And you, unknowingly, become her shield. She knows you love deeply. She knows you forgive easily. She knows you analyze things logically, while she plays in the emotional shadows. And that imbalance is exactly where her manipulation begins. You see, a woman who cheats doesn't wake up and suddenly want accountability. She wakes up terrified of losing her comfort, her image, her financial stability, her emotional backup plan. So she begins a quiet, calculated shift in behavior, subtle enough that you can't call it out, but powerful enough that it keeps you confused, guilty, uncertain, and constantly questioning yourself. She studies your reactions, she watches your tone, she mirrors your fears, and she always tries to rewrite the truth before you discover it. This is why so many men stay stuck in emotional loops after being betrayed. Because the manipulation that comes after the cheating is often more damaging than the cheating itself. It messes with your sense of reality. It twists your self-worth. It makes you doubt your instincts. And it forces you into a psychological cage where you keep trying to fix something she secretly broke. And hear me, none of this is your fault. You weren't weak. You weren't stupid. You weren't blind. You were loyal. You were committed. You were loving. And she weaponized the very things that made you a good man. Stay with me, because once you understand the first manipulation she uses after cheating, you'll never look at her behavior the same way again. She knows the moment you start questioning her actions, the moment your instincts whisper that something isn't right, she has to move fast. And that's where the first manipulation begins, the emotional inversion. Instead of answering your concerns, she flips the spotlight onto you. Suddenly, you're the one who's too sensitive, overthinking, or becoming distant. This tactic isn't accidental. It's her way of shifting the weight of guilt off her shoulders and placing it onto yours, slowly convincing you that your intuition is the problem, not her behavior. She does this because she understands something many men never realize. If she can make you doubt yourself, she never has to explain anything. Every time you bring up a strange behavior, a sudden change in routine, or a shift in her emotional availability, she responds with confusion, annoyance, or even pain, as if your questioning is hurting her. She's not defending innocence, she's defending her secrets. And here's where it becomes psychologically dangerous. When a man loves deeply, he begins to doubt his own perceptions before he doubts the woman he loves. So when she cries, withdraws, or accuses you of being the reason she's not herself lately, you instinctively step back. You soften. You question your tone instead of her actions. And that's exactly what she wants. Because while you're apologizing for asking simple, reasonable questions, she's buying time to cover her tracks. But the manipulation doesn't stop with emotion. She starts rewriting her schedule in ways that sound logical but don't feel right. She blames stress, work, friends, family, anything that keeps you from connecting the dots. She becomes just unavailable enough to hide things, but present enough to keep you from suspecting too much. And the cruelest part? She studies your reactions like an investigator. Every threat you don't make, every boundary you don't set, every moment you choose peace over confrontation. She registers it. She realizes she can silence your intuition with minimal effort. She realizes she can maintain control of the narrative. And she realizes you still care enough to believe her, even when her words don't match her behavior. But I want you to hear this in the deepest part of your heart. Your confusion isn't a flaw. It's a sign you've been emotionally manipulated. And once you recognize this pattern, you'll never allow someone to twist your reality again. You deserve clarity, strength, and truth that no manipulation can ever erase today. There's a moment, right after a woman has crossed a line she can't uncross, where she realizes something terrifying. You're starting to notice the shift in her energy, and instead of coming clean, she switches to one of the most psychologically dangerous tactics: excessive affection mixed with sudden coldness. This is the push and pull cycle that keeps men emotionally trapped after her betrayal, and she uses it because it works. It keeps you off balance, unsure, and constantly chasing the version of her she shows only when she needs to protect herself. One day, she's overly sweet, unusually attentive, almost clingy. She compliments you for no reason. She cooks your favorite meal. She initiates affection in ways she hasn't in months. And you start thinking, maybe things are getting better, maybe I was wrong. But that shift is not healing, it's camouflage. She's trying to erase your suspicion by giving you just enough warmth to distract you. Then, the very next day, she becomes cold, emotionally unavailable, distant, irritated, lost in her phone, suddenly busy, suddenly tired, suddenly stressed. You ask what's wrong, and she says it's nothing, but it feels like everything. And you start questioning yourself again. What did I do? Why is she pulling away? And that's exactly how the manipulation traps you, because now you're trying to win her back, instead of noticing she's hiding something. This cycle is designed to break your emotional rhythm. It makes you crave the good moments and tolerate the bad ones because you're waiting for the warmth to return. It conditions you to accept emotional inconsistency as normal. And the more you chase stability, the more she controls the relationship without ever having to explain her behavior. In psychology, this is called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that makes people addicted to slot machines. You never know when the reward is coming, so you hold on longer than you should. And she knows this. She knows that if she gives you just enough affection to keep you hopeful, you'll ignore the parts of her behavior that make your stomach tighten with suspicion. But listen closely. Real love doesn't fluctuate based on convenience. Real commitment doesn't disappear overnight. Real loyalty doesn't come and go depending on whether she needs to hide something. And if you've been feeling this emotional whiplash, it's not because you're flawed. It's because she's manipulating your attachment to cover her betrayal. There's another manipulation she uses that men almost never see coming because it feels like the opposite of what a guilty person would do. Instead of avoiding conflict, she starts creating it. Small arguments, sudden irritation, picking on your tone, your words, your habits. Anything she can twist into a reason to be upset, and you stand there wondering, why is she mad at me when she's the one who changed? But that's the trap. She uses conflict as camouflage, because the more she paints you as the problem, the less space there is for you to question her behavior. A woman who has cheated knows she needs distance, emotional, physical, psychological, but she can't take that distance openly, or you'll start asking questions. So she manufactures the distance through arguments. If she pushes you away with anger, then she can withdraw without raising suspicion. She can spend hours on her phone, leave the house, or emotionally detach, and then blame it all on the fight. You think she needs space because she's upset, but in reality, she needs space to manage the secret she's trying to hide. Here's the part that cuts deepest. She creates conflict because it makes you feel guilty. And when a man feels guilty, he lowers his defenses. He tries harder. He becomes softer. He becomes more forgiving. And she uses that softness to slip out of accountability. Every time she snaps at you, every time she accuses you of something minor, every time she storms off or shuts down emotionally, she's controlling the emotional temperature of the relationship. She doesn't want things calm, because calm gives you clarity, and clarity is her enemy right now. She may even start painting herself as the victim of your behavior. She'll say you're stressing her out. She'll say you're making her anxious. She'll say you're not supportive enough. And suddenly you're apologizing for things you didn't even do, things that never bothered her before. That's when the manipulation becomes complete. She poisons your self-confidence while protecting her betrayal. But listen carefully. A woman who loves you doesn't need to manufacture reasons to distance herself. She doesn't need to create chaos to avoid closeness. She doesn't need to attack you to escape accountability. If your relationship suddenly became a battlefield without explanation, it's not your fault. It's her way of hiding the truth she hopes you'll never uncover. In psychology, this is called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that makes people addicted to slot machines. You never know when the reward is coming, so you hold on longer than you should. And she knows this. She knows that if she gives you just enough affection to keep you hopeful, you'll ignore the parts of her behavior that make your stomach tighten with suspicion. But listen closely. Real love doesn't fluctuate based on convenience. Real commitment doesn't disappear overnight. Real loyalty doesn't come and go, depending on whether she needs to hide something. And if you've been feeling this emotional whiplash, it's not because you're flawed. It's because she's manipulating your attachment to cover her betrayal. There is a point right after the arguments start feeling unnatural and the emotional distance becomes obvious, where she activates one of the most powerful manipulations a cheating woman uses, the selective vulnerability. This is where she suddenly breaks down, opens up emotionally, and shares a struggle or trauma from her past. Something real enough to trigger your empathy, but perfectly timed to redirect your attention away from her current behavior. And you, being a man with a good heart, feel that pull. You soften, you stop questioning, you shift from investigator to protector, and that's exactly what she wants. She knows that men respond deeply to a woman in pain, so she gives you just enough vulnerability to make you forget what you were noticing. She might talk about feeling overwhelmed, insecure, depressed, unsupported, misunderstood. She might cry in your arms. She might say she's scared of losing you, scared of failing, scared of life feeling too heavy. And you hold her, believing these feelings are about the relationship, not realizing they're being used to cover the guilt she refuses to face. But here's the psychological trick. She's not lying about the emotions. She's lying about the timing. The vulnerability is real, but the purpose is manipulation. It's not about healing. It's about redirecting. It's about resetting your suspicion and painting herself as someone who could never do something as damaging as cheat. It's about making you hesitate before confronting her again. She wants you to feel like pressing her with questions would be cruel, insensitive, or unfair. And once she succeeds, the dynamic shifts again. She becomes warm, soft, sweet. She apologizes for the fights. She reassures you that she loves you. She may even initiate intimacy to erase your doubts further. And for a moment, you feel hope. Real, genuine hope that things are getting better. But that hope is the emotional smokescreen. It keeps you from seeing the truth she's desperately trying to hide. A woman who cheated often uses emotional openness as a shield, not a bridge, because she knows vulnerability disarms a man faster than anger or silence ever could. And if you found yourself comforting her, supporting her, reassuring her, all while your own heart felt ignored or dismissed, understand this clearly. She wasn't connecting with you, she was protecting herself from the consequences of what she did. There comes a moment after she's used conflict, affection, distance, and vulnerability when she switches to one of the most subtle manipulations of all, the moral high ground. This is when she begins presenting herself as the emotionally superior one in the relationship, positioning you as the flawed or immature partner so she never has to confront what she's done. She starts implying that you're the one who needs to grow, that you're the one who needs to communicate better, that you're the one who doesn't understand her emotional needs. And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin carrying the emotional weight she created. She does this because guilt terrifies her, but superiority protects her. If she can convince you that you're the one slipping, then she never has to explain why her behavior changed. She speaks softly, calmly, almost like she's the wiser one trying to guide you. She says things like, "I feel like you're becoming distant," or "You're not as emotionally supportive as you used to be," or "I need a partner who understands me better." These phrases aren't accidental. They're rehearsed, layered with emotional suggestion, and designed to reshape the narrative so she becomes the enlightened partner while you become the troubled one. And the heartbreaking part, you start believing her because you're a man who wants to fix things, not destroy them. You want to be better, stronger, more present. You want to grow, not argue. and she depends on that goodness. She uses your desire to improve as a shield against the truth of her betrayal. The more you internalize her critiques, the safer her secrets remain. She may even start subtly comparing you to an imaginary standard of what a real man should be: patient, understanding, endlessly forgiving. She might say she wishes you were more emotionally open, more attentive, more intuitive, but none of these needs are about building intimacy. They're distractions designed to keep you questioning yourself instead of questioning her sudden emotional inconsistencies. What you must understand is this: moral manipulation is one of the last stages of her psychological defense. She uses it when she feels exposed, when she senses you're getting close to noticing the truth. And if you found yourself feeling like you're constantly failing, constantly not enough, constantly misunderstood, even though you've been giving everything you can, it's not because you're lacking, it's because she's controlling the emotional narrative to erase the evidence of what she's done. There is one final manipulation she uses after cheating, and it's the one that leaves the deepest scar because it rewrites the entire reality of the relationship: emotional normalization. This is where she slowly tries to make her new behavior seem normal. Her distance, her secrecy, her mood swings, her inconsistencies, her lack of intimacy, her sudden privacy with her phone, her unpredictable responses, her disappearing hours. She stops hiding the changes and instead expects you to adapt to them. And because you've already been through weeks or months of confusion, guilt, and emotional exhaustion, part of you starts accepting this new version of her as just how she is now. This manipulation works because it doesn't demand your belief. It demands your surrender. She wants you tired. She wants you drained. She wants you uncertain enough that you stop questioning her altogether. So she gives you just enough affection to keep you from walking away, but never enough to make you feel secure again. She blends affection and detachment until you can't tell the difference anymore. And this slow emotional erosion is exactly how she regains control. But here's what she hopes you never realize. If a woman loved you the way she claims, she would fight hard for closeness, transparency, and accountability. She would lean into reassurance, not avoid it. She would rebuild trust, not hide from it. A woman who cheats knows she can't offer consistent love anymore, not while she's protecting her lies. So instead, she rewrites the emotional rules of the relationship. She convinces you that your needs are too much, your questions are too intense, your feelings are too dramatic, until you shrink yourself into someone easier to control. And that's the moment she feels safest. Not because the relationship is healthy, but because she's successfully numbed your instincts. She's muted your voice. She's blurred your clarity. She's turned your loyalty into silence. And that is the final manipulation, conditioning you to tolerate what once would have broken you. But hear me clearly, man to woman, from my heart to yours. Your soul is not meant to live in emotional darkness. Your intuition is not your enemy. Your need for honesty is not a flaw. The discomfort you feel is truth trying to wake you. And if you've recognized even one of these manipulations, understand this: your heart is not confused. It's warning you. You deserve transparency, loyalty, and peace, not psychological survival games disguised as love. What you must understand is this: moral manipulation is one of the last stages of her psychological defense. She uses it when she feels exposed, when she senses you're getting close to noticing the truth. And if you found yourself feeling like you're constantly failing, constantly not enough, constantly misunderstood, even though you've been giving everything you can, it's not because you're lacking, it's because she's controlling the emotional narrative to erase the evidence of what she's done.